We're live. What's up, Weekend Warriors? Welcome back to another Sunday night stream on the Weekend Dojo. As always, it's me, El Chezo Reviews, as your host and co-hosted by
Kamen Rider, no, Proton Reviews and Fan Edit, sorry. I stuttered.
So no big deal, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So tonight we're going to be talking about Transformers. Oh,
Yes.
it's that time skip again.
Sorry. Anyways, yeah, tonight we are talking about Transformers. We're gonna be focusing on from Gen 1 up to the comics that ended right after Beast Wars, I want to say, right?
Actually, the comics are still going.
Oh, okay. We're gonna be focusing on we're not gonna be talking about the Unicron trilogy. We'll discuss that another time. But let's start with Gen 1, shall we?
Okay, first thing you got to know about Gen 1 is...
Yes? Yes, ma'am. Can you take care of that while I'm taking out my dog?
Okay, so essentially, GoBots had their toys out for... one did something before the other, GoBots and Transformers. I believe GoBots had their toys out first, but Transformers had their show out first. Don't quote me on that, but I'm fairly certain. Essentially, how it worked was they wanted to do a big push of robot toys here in the West. Didn't really feel like designing their own. So they started lifting molds from existing Japanese robot toys from other companies. Mostly Diaclone and Machine Robo. Continuing on, they had to create lore for this somehow to create a cohesive or some way to sell these toys. So instead of having piloted robots, they renamed them and gave them personalities and everything. We got G1. And G1 was your pretty straightforward defeat the bad guys, win. Kind of like He-Man and Skeletor or any action-based cartoon from the 90s. Now, fun fact, it actually got kind of greasy between Hasbro and a couple of other toy companies, specifically Bandai, because, as most buffs will know, Jetfire is actually, the original Jetfire was actually pulled from the mold for a Valkyrie from Macross, known as Robotech here in the West. Essentially, yeah, it was nothing more than that on the surface, but it evolved into something huge because it had the one thing that a lot of other shows at the time lacked. The characters themselves had a transformation gimmick. Occasionally you had something with like a pop-out weapon or a hidden feature back in the 80s, but Transformers kind of enveloped that concept all by itself. Oh, I hope he's coming back.
Okay, what I miss?
I was going over how the show essentially was used as a marketing platform for lifted toy molds.
Oh, yeah. Because, well, if I'm correct, they were reused from various other Japanese productions, right?
Various other toy companies, yes.
Okay. So, have we gotten into the show yet?
I was going over the basic thing. It's your typical 80s good guy group fights bad guy group. Bad guy group gets thwarted every episode.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have a favorite moment of G1 in terms of scene, how it was escalated, maybe funniest scene, anything?
The fight between Bruticus, no, not Bruticus. Yeah, Bruticus, Menasor, and Devastator.
You're talking about the fight where they're shooting at his pelvis, right?
No, the one where it's like everything just kind of escalates.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the funniest scene for me is when Starscream has I think it's Bruticus, has his team, his little Decepticon team, they're turning its Megatron to form Bruticus, and they're fighting Devastator. And then Megatron and them are just shooting at Bruticus, but where they're shooting at is hilarious. He's just standing there.
A lot of that was layered footage, essentially, so it could have been two artists not communicating.
Yeah. But it's funny. I mean, I think that's one of the only scenes you can make fun of in G1.
You can make fun of a lot of scenes in G1 just because it's so dated.
Not true. But
I mean, Soundwave was lifted from a toy called Micro Cassette Robo.
Huh, really?
It was an advertisement in Japan for the new micro cassette technology.
Mm-hmm. Well, and have you told the story of Jetfire yet?
I did.
Okay. Well, Megatron.
Megatron was lifted from Machine Robo. I believe he was Gun Robo or Pistol Robo.
Mm-hmm. Did you know that when they released in the U.S., somebody robbed the bank with a Megatron toy, so they had to add orange caps to them, like discontinued the toy line?
Well, that's not entirely true. Most toys around that time were beginning to be required to have orange caps.
Really? Or is it just the Japanese one that didn't have the orange cap?
The Japanese did not have didn't have such restrictions at the time.
Mm-hmm. But
you can see them in place now, but only if it vaguely resembles a gun.
Yeah. What is your favorite G1 design, if I may ask?
G1, there isn't a lot. Are we talking animation wise or toy wise?
Both. I want your opinion on both.
Animation wise, I can't say I liked any of them, just because the movement was so stiff. I appreciate G1 for what it is, but let's face it, standards have gone up.
That is true. I really like the G1 design. It's very simplistic. I like growing up with Transformers, and this may be because I grew up with Generation 1, but I've always loved the boxy look of the colorful boxy look of them.
And I like that look too. It's when you animate that with the clunky animation of the time.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
They seem less like characters and more like puppets.
Okay, I see where you're going with that. Now, what's your favorite toy, though?
Favorite toy from G1? Unfortunately, I don't have any toys from G1.
At least, because you've at least seen them, right?
It would have to be probably no, that's not G1. It would have to be Ultra Magnus.
I like Optimus and Starscream the best.
Well, you can't count Optimus because Optimus is everyone's favorite.
But yeah, Starscream. I think Starscream. Then I like Starscream's toy design.
Oh, so you like the Seekers?
I'm also a fan of the F-14 Tomcats, so that's probably why. And that's what they were modeled after, was the F-14 Tomcat.
Yeah, they've changed up and down as time has gone on, but he's usually some kind of vaguely F-14 looking-ish.
Yeah. Well, in the movies, he was a F-22 Raptor, but that's because the movies were made right after the Tomcats got discontinued. I was actually hoping he'd be an F-14 in the movie, but then when I found out that F-14s got discontinued, I was like, well, there goes the Transformers movie. like I knew it right when I heard the F-14s got discontinued. My first thought was, well, that new Transformers movie coming out is probably not going to be using it. That was my first
Fair
thought.
assumption.
And so, yeah. What do you think if in the Transformers, the Bayformers movies, if they got an F-14 and painted it with the red stripes on the side, you think that would have you think that would have stood out if they had all the Transformers in the realistic movie to look like G1 counterparts?
Maybe.
Like, would you think that would work? You saw the video I sent you, right?
Oh yeah, well that was less Bayverse and more just like if they wanted to reboot the original movie.
Yeah, but if Michael Bay decided to go the reboot route,
he wouldn't do it.
I mean, if they did, do you think if a live action Transformers movie of G1 was made, do you think it would work? Or you think it's just
I don't think so, because the Transformers movies are not for Transformers fans.
Mm-hmm.
They're for the people who don't understand what Transformers is about.
Okay. I mean, I'm talking about more visuals instead of just the movie itself. I'm talking about, would a G1 design work for a live action movie?
Probably not. Like not at least not a direct lift. There would have to be some updates to it. Not like Bayversify it. Mm-hmm. Don't throw details out the wazoo. But make it look real.
Right. Could you see like the original Optimus, him transforming? Just add realistic texture to that. You think that would work?
Yeah, maybe just a few more shifting panels, but
because they did it in Age of Extinction for a bit when it was a big Easter egg that we saw this old rusted 1980s truck that he took on the form of for a bit, and it was that truck, but it wasn't colored red. It was like rusted, but it had that concept of design.
The Kenworth?
I think so. It was like a flat front truck.
Because I'm fairly certain that Optimus was a cab over Kenworth.
What does that mean?
Kenworth is like a brand of truck. Cab over means like the cab is over the engine.
All I know is they for the movie Age of Extinction in the beginning, he was on his truck form was the truck from G1, but it was rusted.
You would have to somehow work it in so that he's got a slimmer waist, which could be done with his arms, but
right. Like, use that proof of concept you saw as an example. You think it could work just using those designs with realistic metal CG?
The texture, if it were updated, maybe. But I think that would look better as an animated film.
True, like a CG animated film?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think so. Yeah, that would work. Kind of like that Power Rangers animated film that was a concept footage that never got greenlit from like 2 years ago, right? Kind of like that animation?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about, right?
I believe I do.
It was the test footage it was test footage, but CG animation. But yeah, I think that would work. I think if they were to do a G1 movie, it would have to be just CG animated.
That's all it really needs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't have to be CG. I do appreciate the original movie's animation. It was very good animation.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike the show. But it's like, you got to do something different with it.
That's definitely true. But
it's kind of a weird balance.
You said you liked Gen 1 Season 2 the best, right? Or is
I
it
like
Gen
Season
2?
2 better than. I like Gen 2 better than Gen 1 Western wise.
Mhm.
But if I had to pick a favorite, it would either have to be Beast Wars or Japanese Gen 1.
Japanese Gen 1. Okay. Beast Wars. Oh yeah, Beast Wars was good. What was the name of that company that made Beast Wars?
Hasbro.
Yeah. Okay, but didn't they make like several other CG animated shows like it? Like they did a Voltron series that was like forgotten. They did a
Oh, well, I don't know if that was the same group.
they did Max Steel, the
I
original
don't know
Max.
if that was the I don't know if that was the same group.
Okay. The animation was very similar, and it wasn't Hasbro. It was a specific animation company that made Beast Wars.
Well, Hasbro is the one funding it.
Right, but it was an
They
animation
produced it, but
separate from Hasbro that animated it. And they've been credited with doing a Voltron show, Max Steel, and some other shows that use that same CG animation. I think
find that a lot of
on there also.
you got to remember that a lot of CG animated shows at the time looked fairly much the same, so it might be easy to confuse one style for another.
Okay, true. Now, did you have a favorite Transformer in Beast Wars, like Transformer animal that you liked most of all?
I was a big fan of, I would have to say, Magmatron.
Magmatron. Which one's Magmatron?
Magmatron was in the side story of Beast Wars in the comic.
Mhm.
And he split into three different beasts. Source, Land Source, and Sea Source, he called them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I do have a question. Is Beast Wars, is Optimus Prime and Megatron in there the same Optimus and Megatron from G1? Like, how is it connected?
Well, no. This is all happening after the Ark crashed. This is happening while Optimus and Megatron and all of them are unconscious.
Okay.
It's not Optimus Prime that you see. It's Optimus Primal.
So it's a
Megatron just picked that name because it was essentially the Cybertronian name of the Antichrist.
Oh, okay. So it's not the same Transformers from that
No.
we know.
As a matter of fact, in Beast Wars, they go to the unconscious bodies of Optimus and Megatron so that Optimus Primal can absorb some energy from the Matrix of Leadership to become Optimal Optimus.
Okay, that makes sense now. So yeah, this takes place before. This takes place in between that scene in the prologue where
the Ark crashes.
Yeah, this takes place after they crash, but takes place before they wake up.
Exactly.
Sense. Thank you. And what happens at the end of Beast Wars? That do they go extinct or something?
They all go home.
Oh, okay.
That's when Beast Machine starts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense now. Because I was trying to figure, because in Optimus Prime or
Optimus Primal
was going to be in last night, but there was concept art for it, but it never got put in. And I was curious to how that they could do that. And I was like, because I thought Optimus and Optimus Primal were the same. So that makes sense.
No, they're two totally different characters.
They could do a Beast Wars movie then.
The thing is, like, he picked the name because he heard the legend of Optimus Prime. Mm-hmm. You have to remember the Matrix of Leadership was lost with Optimus, so several other different Energon matrices were formed.
Mm-hmm.
Optimus Primal has one, Leo Convoy has one, Big Convoy has one, I believe. And this version, and the Beast Wars version of Black Convoy has one, aka Nemesis Prime.
Now, while we're on the topic of the movies, did you hear there's a Bumblebee movie being made?
Yes, I believe you mentioned it to me.
It's going to be taking place in the 1980s, and he will be a Volkswagen Beetle.
How did Volkswagen put their stamp on that? They've been fighting that for years.
Well, the thing is, it's going to take place in 1984, 84, 86, somewhere around there. And John Cena has been casted as one of the lead human role. But yeah, this will be about G1 Bumblebee.
Well, that doesn't mean that Volkswagen has to agree to it.
Well, I've seen some images of like the model.
Well, I know that. I'm just surprised that they accepted.
Yeah, it could be rumors, but I hope it's official.
Because Volkswagen has been very against letting Hasbro use the Beetle look for a while.
Why?
They did not want to be associated with war.
With war?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it's a hippie company, right? Something like that, or pacifist.
Well, no, it's just they've got a bad history surrounding that.
Oh. Okay. I can respect that, but I hope the Volkswagen Beetle ends up in the Transformers as Bumblebee's form.
I hope it does too, because honestly, it would be nice to have new generations of Bumblebee as the Volkswagen Beetle.
Mm-hmm. Because
it's such a the not to mention the brand name is kind of inspiring as well. Volkswagen, the people's car.
Yes. And then they could just use an old Volkswagen Beetle. They don't have to market a new car.
Exactly.
It place in 84.
The thing is, like, you know how you started to see a lot of yellow Camaros with black racing stripes painted on them pop up after the first movie?
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot more people getting punched in the arm on the freeway. Slug bug.
You had to bring that back. Do you still do that?
I still do that.
Yes. I haven't found anyone to do that within a long time, since 03, to be exact.
The game never dies, dude. As long as people are bored on a long car trip.
Mm-hmm. How much time? Just making sure we're not going overboard.
We got about 8 minutes left.
All right, cool. Yeah. Who would you? The question is, for the Bumblebee movie, how would you want it to go for you to watch it?
Well, personally, I would prefer that it be a little bit like Hearts of Steel.
What's that?
Hearts of Steel is essentially a side story, a what-if story if the Transformers woke up for a brief period of time before the 1980s story started.
Uh-huh.
And they woke up in, say, the Industrial Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And Bumblebee makes friends with John Henry.
Oh, okay.
And John Henry is not pleased with the existence of Bumblebee at first because all he sees is a steam locomotive that can lay its own track. So John Henry gets into a rail laying competition with Bumblebee. Again, not knowing he's a robot.
Because he's in vehicle form.
Yeah, essentially. But it's like they make friends with great American legends.
Right. That's cool.
And they're all steampunky.
That'd be a cool concept. I'd like to see something like that done with the new Transformers movie. And then have subtle references to G1 in the background. I mean,
maybe.
Think about it this way. This movie could bring redemption to the Transformers franchise that a lot of the older fans and fans of the series and all that love about it. The fact that they're using the 80s.
Honestly, I'd be happy with
the fact that they're using the '80s setting
Go ahead.
could show this movie as being a nostalgia focused movie.
I've never known Michael Bay to give a shit.
Well, he's not doing this movie. Michael Bay already did his last Transformers movie.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he's done with the series. Hasbro's getting various other directors to do the rest of the Transformers movies.
I would say if they wanted to bring redemption, as you put it, to the Transformers community, I would just make a cartoon based off of the IDW comics.
Mm-hmm. Well, what they're doing, supposedly they're gonna at some point pull a Days of Future Past type gimmick to reset everything. That's just speculation right now. But from what I've read, a couple of different things where the Hasbro may be rewriting everything at some point.
I see.
Because after this, we have after the Bumblebee movie, we have Transformers 5, which will have the introduction of Unicron. Because at the end of last night, Quintessa, the whole thing on Earth was trying to kill Unicron because I think it was a threat to her existence, being she's the creator of all the Transformers, or she's one of the creators. And
now, see, that's a bunch of bull.
What?
I do not watch the Transformers movie anymore.
Okay. Well, basically,
firstly,
Quintessa is one of
Primus. Primus created them.
Yeah, I know.
Atlas created his own life forms.
Mm-hmm. For all I know, she could be just a someone claiming ownership when she's lying, because there's a lot more they're doing with it. But at this point, we are told that, honestly, I think Hasbro, now that Bay has nothing to do with it, Hasbro can do a lot of different things with it. But at this point, I like to say Quintessa is a lying fraud who's claiming ownership when she along with several others, aren't really the creators.
The Transformers are a product of Primus in various scenarios.
Yeah.
Primus essentially creates them.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, because the thing is, Quintessa came in with this broken thing, Cybertron, which she claimed was Cybertron, but we all know Cybertron was destroyed. So, I think...
Not true.
Or was it just uninhabitable?
They left looking for Energon.
Oh, okay, yeah. You're right, yeah. Well, what if Quintessa... Have you at least read about The Last Night to know what went on in it?
I stopped following it, man. I've given Bay way too many chances. I'm not interested in his work anymore.
Okay. Will you at least watch it for me? Because I think it was the best Transformers movie out of all 5 of them. And I think you will at least like it from a science fiction war movie perspective.
That's the thing, though, is it's trying to bank on G1 to capture people who are not interested in Transformers, and they're throwing in characters that only G1 fans would get because the people they're drawing in don't recognize them. Mm-hmm. It's poor strategy to me.
Okay. You don't have to watch it. I'm just asking if you would. But, yeah, I thought it was a great film. I'm really excited to see where it goes. I'm glad Michael Bay's not involved with it anymore.
That's very good.
Even though I'd say he for once did a pretty good Transformers movie, in my opinion, at least. I know Rotten Tomatoes says it was terrible, but I loved it. I can't wait for Unicron to come into play. I'm really excited for next year's Bumblebee. And I hope that they pull a big plot twist where Primus gets involved.
I do too. Because if you have Unicron, you have to at least have Primus.
Yeah, I think they're going to bring in Primus. Like right now, Quintessa, who was the main villain of last night, is hiding on Earth in human form, trying to slowly kill Unicron. Because right now, Unicron is buried within the Earth.
Well, that's one way of telling that story.
Because Unicron is only the size of a moon, not an entire planet.
He is a bit smaller.
But he's buried within the Earth, so with one of his horns sticking out in the Sahara Desert.
That's one way of telling that story. Others, he's in the core of the Earth, or he's drifting through space.
Right? But yeah, I like the idea of him within the core of the Earth, because now we're going to have to figure out how is he going to get out without the Earth being destroyed.
I don't think that would have been a concern for him.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, storytelling-wise.
Oh, he usually just busts up out the hole.
Mm-hmm. And then there'll just be a big gap within the Earth.
Yep.
But yeah, the thing is, with the next Transformers movie, how do you think they can play that off with him getting out without it, with the Earth having that big gash within it, without it just dying?
I couldn't tell you.
But then again, with the new Transformers, they do have like real all organic parts, so it could just be like, as it breaks out, it shapes into the.
That's another thing I didn't like. The moment I heard about Transformium, I was about ready to punch Michael Bay again.
What's Transformium?
It's the made-up material they said that Transformers are made out of.
Oh, okay. In the movie,
they have a term for they have a term for it in the actual lore. It's called living metal.
Mm-hmm.
The comics have one way of putting it. The shows have another way of putting it. The comics, which I follow most closely, put it like this. Vector Sigma flashes. And that flash spreads all over Cybertron and lights up the area where there are dormant sparks. Mm-hmm. These sparks are then collected and dumped into a smelting pool full of living metal. The sparks then gather the living metal around it, construct a brain, and then as soon as the brain and the spark are able to tell the difference between each other, they are an adult.
Okay. Well, I think we should end it here for the night, and we can continue on Transformers next week. How about that?
Sounds good.
This will be part 1.
Yep. So thanks everyone for watching. Remember to go to our main page, check out our individual channels in the featured channel sidebar. Remember to like us on Facebook and Twitter, and we will see you next weekend.
All right. Stay more phenomenal, everybody.